It started just like any other university event that Charlie Kirk has done, on the road to becoming one of President Trump's most prominent supporters.
On September 10, 2025, a calm afternoon at Utah Valley University turned into a nightmare. A loud crack cut through the air, and in seconds, panic spread. People screamed, dropped to the ground, and ran as police rushed in. What began as a normal campus event suddenly became breaking news that spread across the nation. Charlie Kirk was co-founder of Turning Point USA. He had more than 5 million followers on X, and he hosted a podcast and radio show. The event was part of the American Comeback Tour. The tour stops were scheduled at multiple universities across the United States. The shooting took place during a question and answer session about mass shootings. Witnesses said the question asked was about how many mass shooters there had been in America in the last 10 years. Charlie Kirk responded, "Counting or not counting gang violence." Within moments, a shot rang out. An eyewitness, Radin Desheen, described hearing a pop and seeing Kirk fall back in his chair. Blood was visible at the scene. Video footage later shared by outlets captured the confusion as audience members ran. Campus officials confirmed one shot was fired. The bullet struck Charlie Kirk in the neck. He was removed from the stage by his security team. Law enforcement sources reported the shot came from about 200 yards away from a nearby building. Some reports identified the rooftop of the Losey Center as the suspected firing point. The incident occurred approximately 20 minutes after the event began. Campus security and university police had been stationed at the event. Plainclothes officers were also present. 2 people were briefly detained and interviewed, then released after authorities confirmed they had no connection to the shooting. Charlie Kirk was transported to a hospital in Orem and underwent emergency surgery. His condition was reported as critical. Utah Governor Spencer Cox called the shooting a political assassination. Federal agencies, including the FBI and ATF, responded to assist with the investigation.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah.
President Donald Trump issued a public statement after the event. In his remarks, he said, "To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah." He added, "He's a martyr for truth and freedom." The president described Kirk as a public figure who worked with young people and who spoke at campus events across the nation. President Trump also issued another statement on social media confirming Kirk's death. He called Kirk a martyr for truth and freedom. He also declared, "An assassin tried to silence him with a bullet, but he failed, because together we will ensure that his voice, his message, and his legacy will live on for countless generations to come." Trump criticized what he described as years of demonization of conservative figures. He stated, "For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now." The university was placed on lockdown. Students evacuated while police secured the grounds. Classes were canceled following the incident. Medical teams and law enforcement appealed for the public's help with any information. Governor Spencer Cox and other Utah officials condemned the attack. Cox stressed that violence against public speakers undermines free expression and democratic values. Trump drew comparisons to other violent incidents, mentioning the attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania, as well as attacks on ICE agents and members of Congress. He connected the shooting to what he called a broader trend of political violence. Members of both parties expressed condolences. Leaders also demanded answers about how security could be breached on a university campus. Federal investigators confirmed the bullet trajectory was consistent with a long-range shot. No suspect has been named. "This is a dark moment for America," Trump said, sending his prayers to Kirk's wife, Erica, and their 2 children. "We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain." Charlie Kirk was married and the father of 2 young children. His organization, Turning Point USA, issued a statement mourning his death and pledging to continue his mission. The FBI and ATF reviewed hours of surveillance footage from nearby buildings. Dozens of witnesses were interviewed. Authorities urged anyone with relevant details to come forward. In his remarks, Trump addressed Kirk's family directly. "Our prayers are with his wife Erica, the two young beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain." Audience members described the shock of the single gunshot. Some thought it was a firework until they saw Kirk collapse. Panic followed, with students and attendees rushing for cover. University staff sheltered students in locked classrooms until officers gave clearance. Media outlets ran live coverage throughout the day. National networks and digital platforms amplified reactions from political figures. Statements from governors, senators, and members of Congress described the incident as a dangerous escalation in targeted political violence. Charlie Kirk had become one of the most visible conservative activists in the United States. His presence on college campuses drew both supporters and protesters. His death was widely discussed online, with hashtags trending globally within minutes. Trump added in his address, "Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before, and it's not even close. May God bless his memory. May God watch over his family, and may God bless the United States of America." In addition to Trump's remarks, former Vice President Mike Pence also released a statement praising Kirk's work with young voters. Lawmakers across the spectrum echoed grief, though some urged restraint in framing the attack until investigators confirmed details. Local authorities said investigators were working through leads. Federal officials confirmed that ballistic evidence was being analyzed. Officers also canvassed nearby neighborhoods for witnesses who might have seen unusual activity before the shooting. University administrators later announced counseling services for students and staff. They emphasized the school's cooperation with authorities and promised a review of security measures for future events. Flags were lowered to half staff in Utah following an order by Governor Cox. Vigils were organized on the UVU campus and across other states where Kirk had recently held events. Trump's expanded statement reflected broader frustration with what he described as a climate of hostility against conservatives. He said, "From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, radical political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives." The investigation remained ongoing. Officials cautioned that information would be released as verified. Authorities confirmed they were treating the case as targeted political violence, though no motive or suspect had been identified by the evening of September 10th. Kirk's passing marked a turning point in the national conversation on political safety. Vigils, statements, and tributes continued into the night as investigators searched for answers. Across the country, debates grew louder about campus security, public safety, and the protection of political voices in America. Stay with us for more updates as this story develops. Don't miss the latest reports. Subscribe now and turn on notifications.